Hi, I'm Georgie, welcome to my channel and welcome to day 7 of WELLMAS, your wellbeing advent calendar of tips and techniques to help you through the festive period. So as I've said, today is day 7 and today we are going to be looking at creativity and how just doing a few creative things can really help break us out of a bad mood if we found ourselves in a bit of a slump or a funk. The long-term benefits of doing things that are a little creative. So people talk about being creative and, doing things creatively and the fact that can benefit the brain. And it seems incredible, but studies have actually proven that this is the case. It can improve not just the brain function, but it can improve your mental health, but it can also improve your physical health as well. So the main way is that it brings you into something called flow state. Now, I've all heard the saying sort of like going with the flow, or in the zone, and that is actually a proven, or that is actually a state that scientists have been working to explore because it's a very real mental process. Flow state is the complete and utter absorption in a task. Being in this complete state of complete and utter absorption can help reduce anxiety, it can boost your mood, it can even slow your heart rate down, because obviously as you're entering into a sort of a trance-like state when you're focused on your task, your breathing slows, and when your breathing slows, that can actually help reduce your heart rate, and obviously if your heart rate is reduced, so can your blood pressure. Flow state that scientists have discovered that we enter into when we get completely and utterly absorbed in a task is very similar to, well, it's very similar to mindfulness for a start, which is basically the focus, your focus going on that task. So mindfulness can be something as simple and mundane though as doing the washing up. So instead of doing the washing up while listening to some music or having your mind sort of dwelling on a million and one things, you focus purely on, the dish going into the water, cleaning the plate, putting the plate on the side, and that you're allowing yourself to become absorbed in that task. So mindfulness can be sort of for the mundane things. We have looked before in the toolkit video about how colouring in can be a great activity to do in a toolkit, because mindful colouring has become quite a big thing because it does help you achieve what we're going to talk about today, which is flow state. Flow state is also very similar to the 8 limbs of yoga. One of the 8 limbs is a single pointed focus. So with meditation, we're looking at withdrawing from the senses. So ignoring the sounds, ignoring the smells, ignoring the distractions going on around us as we kind of go inwards and withdrawing the senses that way. However, obviously with doing something creative, we're externally focused, but we still do have that single point of focus. So it still does come into the benefits. It's all that under that same umbrella. And the benefits are obviously it can reduce your anxiety, it can reduce your levels of stress, it can boost your mood, and we'll talk about that in just a second, and it can lower your heart rate, because obviously as you're getting absorbed into a task, your breathing and you're getting less stressed and less anxious and less overwhelmed, your breathing will become slower and deeper, and when your breathing is slower and deeper, that can reduce your heart rate, and obviously if your heart rate is reduced, hopefully that could reduce your blood pressure as well. The reason it can boost your mood is in the same way that some people get addicted to social media, and it's a chemical that the body produces called dopamine. Dopamine is the reward hormone. That's how it can be referred to, the reward hormone. And when it comes to social media, and the problems with social media is that when we get likes or interaction with something that we post, it sets off the chemical receptors in our brain to release dopamine into the body, and dopamine is a feel-good hormone. It comes under that group of endorphins, serotonin, dopamine, and I think melatonin. It's all kind of under that umbrella of hormones. But when we achieve a task and when we do something creative, we can also release dopamine that way. When we receive more dopamine, it is then able to help better motivate us. So it's making us feel good in the moment, and knowing that we feel good when we do something then motivates us to do more of that thing. There's also been studies that show that engaging in creative activities not only reduces anxiety in the moment, but long term its benefits can help reduce depression. But also with people with dementia, it helps provide more of an anchor point for them, helps sometimes relieve some of the symptoms and some of the more stressful elements of people that have dementia. Also as well, because you're getting absorbed in the task and you're creating these feelings of dopamine, people that are lonely or feel quite isolated, it can actually help reduce, studies have shown that it can help reduce those feelings of loneliness and isolation as well. Another benefit is that it is a form of expression. Now we'll look in a second at different types of creativity, because I think that sometimes when you say creativity, your mind automatically goes to one thing and you might be like, oh, I'm not very creative. But we're going to have a look at some ways that if you're not overly creative, or obviously creative, should I say, if you're not obviously creative, ways that you can introduce creativity into your life. But it allows you to express yourself, and being able to express yourself helps you navigate difficult and challenging emotions. This is why creative writing or painting is so good for people that have trauma, because it helps them reframe things that they're perhaps struggling to articulate. If you're experiencing difficult emotions or trying to process a traumatic experience, sometimes that can be quite hard to verbalize. It can be quite hard to externally, like trying to convey that to somebody through words can be re-triggering. So do creative writing, reframing it through a story, an allegory, or a poem, or painting and expressing yourself that way, is a way of dealing with those emotions without re-triggering. The ways that brain function can be improved through creativity is that certain creative tasks, they require the left and the right sides of the brain to work together. So if you're not aware, the left side of the brain and the right side of the brains have different functions. One's more analytical, whereas one's more creative. And especially, so when you're requiring the two parts of the brain to work together, but when you're playing music, even more so. Some of the obvious ways to be creative are things like creative writing, playing instruments, drawing, painting, perhaps even making things. Now, not everybody has those gifts quite naturally. Maybe they don't enjoy them. So if you then dial that back, how can we start to incorporate these different elements into our daily lives or into our life in some way if we don't feel creative? So me personally, I am tone deaf, completely tone deaf. But creating a playlist of your favourite songs, that is in itself an act of creativity. You know, you're having to think about things, you're having to put them together, and, you know, perhaps making yourself a little set where it's not just a random list of songs, but actually how do the songs flow together. That is a creative act. Just whacking them on a playlist, perhaps not so much, but, you know, trying to create a flow maybe of kind of from slower melodic music building up to a more high tempo pace and then coming back down again, almost like being your own DJ. That is a way of expressing yourself and being creative. Several times about colouring in. So again, another way, I mean, the hard work of creating the pretty picture or whatever has already been done for you. All you need to do is sit down and maybe even just 5 minutes a day, colour in a small section. I mean, you can do paint by numbers, you can get colouring books. Another really easy way is making things. Now, that doesn't have to mean you're a seamstress or a woodworker or, you know, a pottery maker. And it doesn't mean you have to spend lots of money. I mean, obviously you can get lots of craft kits, you know, whether that's candle making kits or soap making kits. You can buy those quite easily, and they're very they're designed to be very simple to make. But, you know, not everybody, we don't all have the available funds to treat ourselves to a 10, 15, 20 pounds candle making kit. So some easy ways that you can make things are in the kitchen. You know, you can buy, you know, if you're not naturally a good chef, like I don't necessarily always have the patience to bake things properly, you know, weighing everything out, making a mess, like, or buying all of the different ingredients to create something. However, you can get kits and they're a lot more affordable. So one of the things we'll do together is we're going to make one of my favourite things to make, one of my favourite baking things that is a really cheap, easy way of doing it, but you get a reward. You get a tasty treat at the end, which is going to make you feel good, and you get the dopamine of having done something and been creative. So look at ways perhaps in the kitchen, maybe get like a little cake making kit. You can get a cake batter thing for like £1, or some biscuit mix for £1, and just make those up, and then, you know, you've got tasty treats to share at the end. And obviously it is the festive period, so one of the things that I've done before that is fairly inexpensive but quite rewarding and quite creative, and again quite an absorbing task and quite fun to do, is making my own Christmas things. So whether it's as small as buying plain brown luggage tags, and then either creating a stencil out of a potato, or I've bought stencils in the past and stamps, and then just creating a stamp and stamping them to create your own set of bespoke customized gift tags, and you can do the same thing can also apply to plain brown bags, and you can use and make your own gift bags. I have done it with wrapping paper before, where I have bought a roll of wrapping paper, laid it out on the floor and stamped my own wrapping paper, but that is quite a time consuming task, and also probably not recommended if you've got little ones running around the house. But hopefully there's a few ideas of things that you can do to bring a little bit of creativity into your life without it A, breaking the bank, or B, being quite an intimidating prospect because you may not feel overly creative as an individual. And hopefully I've made clear some of the benefits of bringing a little bit of creativity into your life. So it's just a short video today, so I thought it might be quite nice to finish with some ways in which I've been creative over the last few days with a little bit of B-roll. See you tomorrow. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and check out the rest of WELLMAS that you may have missed if you haven't caught up with WELLMAS. And don't forget to keep an eye out on the rest of the month. See you next time. Bye.